Welcome back to my channel. So today's topic is going to be discussing this grab handle on the back of my Arctic Fox truck camper. This is a 2018 Arctic Fox 992. Any of the white bodied truck campers have a small diameter tube ladder, which kind of eliminates the need to even use this grab handle, because with this small ladder and the Fox landing and the steps on the Fox landing, it's really easy to grab this ladder as you go up the stairs and use it as your grab handle. On the white bodied truck campers that have the small diameter ladder tube, these pins hold the bottom of this ladder in place. This ladder folds up to access the generator compartment, so these pins hold that ladder, the hinge portion of the ladder, in place. On the gray bodied truck campers, the diameter of the tube is much larger, and those ladders don't have this little bracket here. Instead, they have a little nubbin on the end of the ladder tube, and then there's a little rubber receptacle, kind of like a recessed grommet, and the nubbin on the end of this pops into the rubber grommet. While grabbing a hold of the ladder to use it as a grab handle, doesn't take much force for that ladder to actually pop out. So on the gray body truck campers with the black fat tube ladder, the ladder is a very bad grab handle due to the fact that it doesn't take much force for that ladder to pull out of the grommets. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and deploy this grab handle and discuss it just a little bit in relation to the Fox landing and why it is a functional grab handle as opposed to the ladder on the gray bodied truck campers. But there's one drawback. You can see how it protrudes out from the wall of the camper quite a bit, and it kind of protrudes out over the Fox landing. This is a step upgrade that I did, so we're not going to talk about that. But I will have a link down in the description below that describe my torque lift glow steps. So when we're using this as a functional grab handle with the Fox landing, it actually kind of pushes us out onto the edge of the Fox landing. We're looking straight down the handle, and my foot is essentially even with the edge of the handle, and the back of my foot is hanging off the Fox landing. So it kind of, I don't know what the right term is, but it makes the Fox landing a little bit less usable as a porch or a place to have good footing when you're trying to climb up the ladder or steps and come into the truck camper. So I'm going to take a big straight edge, line it up with the edge of the handle. Let's take some quick measurements down here and see how much space we have left to walk around that handle. We have about 10 1/4 inches, and then we lose about just under 6 inches. Now, I actually have heard of 1 or 2 people falling off the Fox landing because that handle sticks out so far and they were not cognizant of how close they were to the back of the Fox landing, and they ended up slipping off of it, which could be disastrous if you have a trailer hooked up, because that's actually how I use my truck camper, is I always have a trailer hooked up. So the solution here is to take off that grab handle, and we're going to trim off several inches here and then several inches at the top. This is a little cap that pops off to reveal the mounting screws for the bracket that attaches to the wall, and it will also give us access to the pin that holds the handle and this top piece to this bottom bracket. So there's a little slot down here, and so we're going to pop a screwdriver in here and release a tab to get that bottom cover off. There you can see the tab. It's that little nubbin that protrudes down from the horizontal piece. That's what we need to push up to release the locking mechanism that holds that cap in place. Then the next thing we'll do, get rid of the cobwebs, spin this around a little bit, find the bent over ends of this cotter pin, pull that cotter pin out, pull this washer and spring off, and then the pin will pull out from the top. After we've got the cotter pin out, washer and the spring off, and just slide the two pins out. And the entire handle slides out of the pivot bracket. Once we get the length trimmed down to what we want, then we'll have to drill another hole for that pin. And that pin needs to be 5/8 of an inch from the end here that we cut. I've got the handle in a vise with rubber pads here, and I didn't tighten this so tight as to crush the tube. I've marked 3 inches, and then I've put a piece of blue painter's tape around the tube. That'll give me a nice straight edge to cut. That looks really good. Then we'll go ahead and take a file and kind of smooth out that end just a little bit. After you get these cut, you definitely do want to deburr them, because it's going to make it a lot easier to get your little black piece slid over the end. I used a drill press to drill my holes. And we'll go ahead and drop our pins down through. This top pin, I have just a little bit of an alignment issue with my bottom hole. There we go. We'll take one of our springs and our flat washer, and then our little cotter pin. Got my spring and my flat washer in place, and I will then take my pair of needle nose pliers and bend this cotter pin, and then we'll slide our little cover back in place. And then I'll go ahead and repeat the process for the top swivel. Let's test the operation. It swivels just perfectly fine. I've got my level attached again. Now let's take a look down here. You can see how much more space we have. We'll measure from the back side of the level out to the edge of the Fox landing. We have 15 inches, and then on the inside we have about 1 3/8 inches. So that is a huge difference. That'll make this handle much more usable. I personally didn't even use this handle before because it was completely in the way of using the Fox landing and trying to get around that handle to go in the door without fear of falling off the Fox landing. Now let's take a look at my foot up here. I'll put my foot right at the edge of where the level is, the inside edge of the level, which would be parallel with the handle. And we've got about probably 2.5 inches at the heel of my foot before I'm at the edge of the Fox landing. So this is going to be very nice. I started out by cutting 3 inches off, and then I brought the handle out here and decided I wanted to shorten it just a little bit more, so I ended up cutting another 1.5 inches off. So we've got a total of 4.5 inches cut off that handle. The handle is actually usable now. A person probably could get away with cutting about another 1/2 inch. So you could theoretically cut a total of 5.5 inches off. So if you've enjoyed the video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. Share it to any RV forums or any friends or family that might have an Arctic Fox truck camper.